Hey everybody, this is day 2 of How I Made Dreams. In part 1, I covered some of the basics of song structure and instrumentation. Today I'm going to go over some of the more technical aspects of producing that really help you make a song of your own. So this includes grouping tracks on buses, automation, compression, saturation, and how to utilize dynamics through EQ to create tension and release within a song. So I'll be walking through dreams and showcasing how I do things. This by no means how you have to do things. Some of this may not even be necessarily the right or the best way to do things, but it works for me. And part of making music is developing your own process as well, which is also one of the fun parts of creating. So I'm going to start with buses. So what are they? They essentially allow you to group similar tracks. Sending tracks to a bus allow you to add the same effects to multiple tracks at once. Keeps things organized and will help you keep you from overloading your computer every time you go to play back a song. So in Logic, to send a track to a bus, you can add a new track. So I'll go here. You can right click on any track. You can also go up to the top, click track, new software instrument track, whatever you want. I'm going to right click. So new software instrument track. Then you go into the inspector pane, which is right in this area, and where it says stereo out. So that means it's sending it straight to your headphones or through your speakers to the stereo. All you do is click the drop down, go to bus, and send it to a bus of some sort. So I've got 13 buses filled out in this. You can send it to a new bus, whatever you want to do. But that's how you do it. And once you do that, you can begin sending different instruments and effects to that same bus. And like I said, adding effects to all of them, which is really important, especially as we get into this. I started with buses because it's very important to understand how those work as we talk about automation. So in this track, I have a lot of automation going on. To showcase the first example of how I've used it within this track, I'll jump to the vocal up top here. It's all in the green. I'm going to focus on these two. So on this vocal, I've created some vocal effects using automation. There's two things being automated. One is pan, which I discussed in video 1. It essentially pushes the sound to the left or right side of the speaker. And then the second is formant, which is an effect that distorts the sound. And that doesn't distort, but it changes the pitch or the overall sound of either a vocal or an instrument track. So you're probably wondering, how do I add automation to a track? In Logic specifically, you press A on the keyboard, and once you press A, these options, you can click these drop downs, and it allows you to automate all of these. It says automation. You can basically add automation to any of this, depending on what effects you have in your track. So I've decided in this to automate the pan and the formant. So I'll show you what that sounds like. Here's the formant. I'll pull both of them up on both tracks. And just pay attention to the formant wheels on these. This is called Little Altar Boy. It's a vocal and sound effect that changes the overall sound of an instrument or a vocal. There's other options for these. I use Little Altar Boy. I think Waves has an option as well. It's all personal preference. But anyway, that's what it sounds like. See the formant wheel? So you can hear that kind of deepens the sound as it goes along. I'll show you what it looks like for panning as well. Just pay attention to the wheel. So this controls the stereo field, these wheels up here, whether it's going to the right or left side of a mix. So you can see that wheel going to the left. So it's going to go to the right. All right, so that's automation on the vocal. Here's what it all sounds like together.
And what you lost of what you had, and what you lost.
So really, it's just kind of filling the space between those phrases. Another important component that you can automate is your EQ. If you remember from part 1, EQ is what holds the entirety of the audio frequency spectrum. It has an incredible impact on the dynamics of your track, and dynamics are what allow you as a producer to create tension and release within a song. So tension and release are really key to a great song. And automating EQ allows you to properly create that tension and release within the track. So I'll go to the chorus section. I believe that's where I have a lot of it on these pianos. So these drop pianos. All right, so you can see here, I've got this automation curve drawn in, and all you gotta do here is automation curve. It allows you to curve the automation on track. I normally curve. You can do straight lines too, but I like adding curves in. Anyway, I've got what's called a single EQ being automated here. So it's a high cut EQ, so that means it's cutting the high cut frequencies out of a track depending on how much you add, which makes it sound, for sound like a piano, makes it sound a little dimmer and not as impactful within a mix until all the frequencies are brought back in. So pay attention to this wheel, this frequency wheel here, as this EQ goes along. So really dim those pianos. Whoops. I'll jump to that part, sorry. Overload the system. So you can hear as the EQ builds, those pianos really come back into the mix and add some more energy. Like I said, that helps just you create tension and release or add different effects. Automation is really important, specifically automating EQ. It can really add a nice element to your song or production. I'll move into production, or sorry, not production, compression here. So compression, what is that? It essentially allows you to create the groove within. It helps accentuate the groove within a track, and within house music, in a 4 on the floor beat, you want your compression hitting on every one beat, so 1, 2, 3, 4, in the measure. And I'll show you. I use what's called Cable Guy Shaper Box, so you can see it here. I've got it set to every quarter beat, which means compression's hitting every quarter beat. You don't need to use this plugin. Logic also has one built in that you can use. I just found this super easy to work with, and I'm all about trying to be as efficient as possible when I'm working within a mix. So to hear what that sounds like, I'll play this pad. So you can hear it kind of bouncing. Now when I turn off this compression, it sounds more flat. Now it's back on, and you really want that on when you're making specifically like a house song, because you want it to sidechain your kick, so kind of bounce with that kick. When it's off, there's not as much of a groove to the song. Now it's on. So that's compression. You add it to your bass, you add it to your pads and piano. With a bass, you want to cut out more of the bass frequency on that one beat, because the bass and the kick will conflict within your mix and compete for space. And within like a house song or any song really, you really want your kick drum to shine through, because it's what adds the real beat to any music. So in this, I've got the bass completely compressed on the one beat, which is really important as well. Jumping into saturation, I will show you. I'll stay on the bass for saturation. I think that's where it shines the most in this song. So I'm not super technically experienced on saturation. I just know it adds like thickness and like a punch to your sounds. This is called specifically sausage fattener. This one I use just because it's really easy. There's only a few knobs. But it adds just like distortion and some more punch. So here's it with the sausage fattener on. Actually, I'll show it off first. So this is the bass. You can hear the groove, but it's kind of soft. This is with sausage fattener on. So that's a real punch to that sound. Like I said, that's something I've only recently began using. It's helped my sound just kind of shine in the mix. I add it to pretty much almost everything in some capacity. It's all a matter of personal taste and preference. Tension release, going back to that. So within a song, there's another plugin I use that helped me create that within music. I'll show it. It's called Endless Smile. It's created by the same people as Sausage Fatteners. I'll show you it on this track. I really love this little guy. I've got it automated on this build piano here. You can see the automation curve going up, and you'll be able to hear that and just pay attention to the intensity wheel. So what this is doing, it's like adding filters and reverbs and delays that create like a sweeping effect and allow it like right before a drop, I guess, it creates a lot of tension.
And
Just
what
sounds
you
really cool.
lost.
So you can hear I really build it and then I cut it right before that drop hits. Just nice, cool effect to add to your sound. All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. That was day 2 of how I made my new song, Dreams. Please go listen to it. I hope these videos helped. That pretty much, that gives a pretty full overview of how I look at music producing and how I go about making new songs. So hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned something. If you did, go produce some music yourselves. I hope you have great days and weeks. Peace.